All right, it's been a minute. We got me and Carter back on the Andre Duke show with Carter Smith. We had a lot of things going on, missed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Some things are not in the same places as they typically are, but we are back. Carter, how have you been, man?
Man, I've been good. Just kind of rolling through it, going through everything. I got my daughter started soccer back up, so I had that this weekend, and and luckily that was at 10 a.m. So I was done in time for the spring game, both Ohio State and Notre Dame spring game. So been just living life, man. But it's been good, man. Been real good actually. Doing a lot of cool stuff right now. So I know if you watch the channel, you know Steel City's taking off. We're running that a couple days a week. I'm doing a late night show a couple days a week, and we're going to continue rolling this the meat and potatoes, the normal show, the Andre Duke show with Carter Smith. Keep rolling that. But other than that, man, it's been good. How you been?
I've been good. Just same old. Just as some things stay the same, some things change. But the big thing is that we got T-ball rolling, and it is you know how it is going from ballpark to home to school to all of that in between. So it is something that we are juggling, but we are trying to get everything in line. So we are ready to go for this fall. This is probably going to be the biggest fall in show history.
Oh, for sure. Not even close. Not even close. And we got a lot going on, a lot to get to in the world of sports right now, specifically college football. A lot of things, kind of interesting things happening across the country in regards to NIL payments, certain players that think they're worth maybe more than they are, different things like that, as well as a lot of spring games happened this past weekend, some of which were not very attended. I heard attendance at pretty much across the board was down. Nobody was going to the spring games. If you live in one of the northern climates, it was a little chilly up here in Ohio and Indiana this past weekend. So maybe weather played a role. But other than that, man, I mean, it's silly season in the NFL, and it seems to be silly season in college football as well at this point. I mean, we can get into it here in a second, but what have you seen? What's something that's caught your eye?
Well, I'm not overly shocked by the spring game attendance, to be honest with you. The two that stuck out the most was Oklahoma and Alabama. I don't think that when we pull this up, it's you gotta I think you gotta take it with a grain of salt. At a certain point, not everybody knows who's all on the team.
That's something that at least I haven't heard many people talk about. With the transfer portal, NIL, and all that, there's a lot of new faces, a lot of people that are transfers and things like that. And as a fan, you don't get as connected with the program anymore because you're not watching these kids that come in as recruits develop over time and get on the field. I will say, I think 15,000 and 5,000 for Oklahoma and Bama is a problem. I don't know if they care, but that's significantly lower than I would expect at both places. I mean, you just look at that Oklahoma picture, like my local high school team gets more than that.
It's how do I want to put this in perspective? The year that Saban retired, that when that portal opened up, they lost 39 scholarship guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year happened, they graduated to probably 15 seniors?
Something like that, yeah.
So I would say that whole roster and everything is completely turned over. I mean,
pretty much, yeah.
As a whole, I think Oklahoma did a lot of turning over on the roster. And then also, we don't know what the price of the tickets were. Like at Ohio State, I know were $10.
Yeah, they're usually pretty inexpensive because they want people there. And they want people that don't normally go to the games in the fall because they don't want to pay for it. They want those people to have an opportunity to go to a game, right? I mean, that was always the reason behind the spring game, was to expand your footprint by getting people that don't normally have the opportunity to go, as well as obviously development and everything else. But I know Ohio State's attendance was down. I believe they had somewhere in the range of 45,000 there. So, I mean, that's not bad. But I mean, you're a far cry from when Urban Meyer was at Ohio State bringing 90,000 into the shoe in April.
Well, let's unpack this thing a little bit when it comes to Ohio State and, Notre Dame. There was a lot of expectations around both those programs. And, Ohio State coming off the Natty win, are they experiencing what Michigan had coming off of their Natty win? Whenever everybody's like, they just won the Natty and their spring game attendance was a quarter of what it was the year before. Well, when there's nothing to build up on that. And then also you got to think, like, I didn't travel down for the spring game this year. The weather wasn't as good. I had some things going on, and it just, it's a hard sell to go sit in a stadium where you're watching a glorified practice for, everything that goes into going, or even going over to South Bend. It's not, I think spring football, I think if this isn't the last of it, I think that we gotta look to where it's, this is it. I seen some of the Belichick stuff that came out. The guys over there at MPW Digital talked about that this morning. There's no media availability. They can't talk to players. They can't talk to anybody. And, in some of the programs, you're not allowed to watch practice. You watch dynamic warm-up, and that's all you get. Players don't have numbers. You don't see anything. So there's nothing of significance. And then also, when it comes to the beat, beat reporters are pretty popular these days. You have fans on the beat, and I don't think that they want to cover the team objectively, and I think that's why our numbers are what they are, because we're not carrying the water for it.
I agree.
And I wouldn't be shocked at some point that some of the bigger sites that are doing things in the off season for clicks, like having Connor Stallions on, are going to start struggling soon because there's no more access. A lot of these coaches aren't allowing access at all. The places like Ole Miss, it's locked up tight. Alabama's locked up for the most part. The big Ryan Day runs it like a counter espionage down there at Ohio State. So it's at a certain point when you give no information and you get nobody invested, or you don't let people see what you're doing or give them something to get excited about, why should they come? Why should I drive over to why should I come down to Columbus, or why should I drive over to South Bend?
No, I'm with you. You're not giving them anything of value, right? There's no value proposition anymore.
And it's like, and I get it. It's Ryan Day's program, but he's changed some things, that like moving senior tackle. It was the same for Woody, Earl Bruce, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer moved it, but some people I've heard mixed reviews on that. But when you change things, you don't let people in. Like Lincoln Riley's doing the same thing. He don't even let high school coaches in out there at USC. And we've talked about that at length. And why do you think everybody's going to Southern California and invading and taking? Julian Sayin grew up in the shadow of the Coliseum. It's Southern California kid, not at USC, with a quarterback guru.
Well, yeah, he is. He is the quarterback guru. Except for there's he gets that name a lot because of what he did in Oklahoma, obviously, and then Caleb Williams. But he's had some swings and misses too. Let's not forget Malachi Nelson. Right.
Yeah, that guy's at UTEP now.
Yeah. Which brings up pretty much my next point, switching gears a little bit, obviously there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this class. You got Arch Manning and the 2023 class of quarterbacks, and just kind of what happened. And it's one of the first classes that has been so severely impacted by NIL. And so I saw this and I wanted to bring it up. And we can go through that class real quick. But, I mean, you look at the class, obviously, Nico Amala, it has some stuff, and we'll talk about that in a minute, with his NIL holdout. Jaden Rashada's $14 million NIL deal. I agree. I think we need to have somebody do a 30 for 30 or something like that on this class and what the transfer portal and NIL did. Because you look at it, Arch Manning went to Texas, is still there, going to be the starter this year. He's the one, right, that is panned out, I guess, even though he hasn't played yet. But you look, Nico is in the portal. No idea where he's going to go. You got Dante Moore, who went to UCLA. Now, obviously, Chip Kelly leaves. He leaves, everything like that. So he's at Oregon now. Jackson Arnold went to Oklahoma, now at Auburn. Malachi Nelson, like I mentioned, went to USC, is now at UTEP.
Well, he went to Boise State in there, too.
In between, yeah. Then you got Jaden Rashada, who went to Arizona State, allegedly didn't get paid or whatever, and now he's in the portal again as well. Aiden Childs, that one's a little different. He went to Oregon State and then followed John Smith to Michigan State, so he just stayed with his coach. And then Austin Mack as well.
Yeah, same thing with the Mack kid. He followed DeBoer down there.
Yeah, he followed DeBoer. Yeah.
So,
but what do you think about that? Like, is this where we're headed, where you're going to have busts in college football, where you're going to have these top kids that are going to be viewed like this class right here is now viewed as a bust? Like, Arch Manning's the only savior.
Well, how do I want to frame this? It's the Nico thing. I don't think that story's done yet. And then one of the things that I thought was funny, when all the people were putting out the speculation, they had other SEC schools on
he can't go there.
He can't go there. I thought that was hilarious. And then the Dante Moore, I don't think that's a big deal. Chip Kelly went to Ohio State. He left. You obviously seen what UCLA was this year. I think him going to Oregon was the good idea. The Jackson Arnold thing is really bizarre because
they told Dylan Gabriel to leave because Jackson Arnold was the guy.
And then they fired the offensive coordinator. They benched Jackson Arnold. They still are not very good on offense. And then Jackson Arnold comes back in and, salvage it and beats Alabama. And I just don't know. I don't know what Venables was doing on offense at that time, because it was purely the offense, in my opinion. Yeah. And, that's why they overhauled the staff there, and hopefully they can figure it out. The Malachi Nelson obviously realized he wasn't playing at USC. Then he transfers to Boise, couldn't win the job, and then transfers to UTEP. This is kind of what it is. And then the Rashada kid is a very interesting situation. I think Billy Napier is going to get off the hook on this. Now, I think Billy's going to get off the hook, but that liaison that they were using as far as the Cortez Cruz kid, that was a player personnel guy that was going back and forth doing the negotiating with the family, I think he's going to have to fall on the sword, and that booster's going to have to fall on the sword on this one. And then, the Childs kid and the Matt kid both followed their respective coaches when the portal took over. But the Rashada thing seems like it's just – I don't know where he's going to end up. I was hearing he took a visit to Western Kentucky. So you go from potentially signing at Florida, or it could have went to Miami, and then you end up at Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham, bounce out of there, sit on the bench at Georgia, and now you're back to square one. You're literally nowhere closer to the NFL than what you were, and you have no tape.
No tape and no chance.
But
like he's cooked. Jalen Rashada will never be an NFL quarterback. Jaden Rashada, sorry, but it's done. It's over for him.
I don't see this is kind of the same thing that everybody wanted to freak out with Jaden Daniels, when he left Arizona State and they were, taking stuff out of his locker and doing that whole grand old heel thing. Well, now that where he's at, he played in the NFC Championship game. So I think, a proof of concept, I think you got to wait a little bit on that.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I just don't foresee a path for him to get there. He's not going to get an offer from an LSU. So it's going to be tough. But it does bring up an interesting point, and we might as well just go ahead and talk about it. Obviously, Nico, the big recruit that got one of the biggest paydays in recruiting history when he signed with Tennessee, redshirted his freshman year, obviously was the starter all last year, led them to the playoffs, but decided that his $2.5 or $3 million or whatever he was getting wasn't enough, and he needed $4 million to stay the quarterback at Tennessee. And he just didn't show up for practice on Friday. Just said, nope, pay me or I'm not playing. And Tennessee turned around and said, looks like you're not playing. You were a bag of mid last year. We're not paying you more.
Okay, I have two, and it's going to probably shock some people on this. I have a couple of thoughts on this. From the Twitterverse, they're trying to pin this on his dad, and I don't think that's fair because his dad hasn't had a platform to address this other than putting a tweet out.
That's a platform.
He put a tweet out and said that he had no idea this was going on.
That's not what he said. He said point blank. He said the reporter reporting this is a bitch. That's not true. That's not happening. And then his son didn't show up for practice the next day. And all of a sudden, his son's off the team. So he lied. His dad lied. He said, because the reporter reported that Nico is demanding $4 million a year or he's not going to play. His dad replied, said, I forget his name, Parker something, is a bitch. No, that's not what's happening. My son has not demanded anything. And then his son didn't show up for practice. Didn't tell any coaches, any players, anything. Just didn't show up and said, I need $4 million.
I would like to – the only thing that I'm saying on this is I think that this is going to go down in history and be studied.
Mm-hmm.
And
because here's the other thing. There is some truth to some of the rumors out there, just so that it's known, about some of the coaches are getting together and talking. And so when your dad or representative or whoever is reaching out to other coaches saying, hey, he's not getting what he's worth, we would be open to talking with you. Those coaches are now going back to the coaches at the schools that they're currently at and saying, hey, this dude called me. I just want you to know. Because they're all sick of it.
Well,
and I won't name names. You can find the story pretty easily, but there was a whistleblower that told Tennessee this was happening and he was being shopped. And that same school is one of now 5 schools that have told Nico's people, fuck off. We're not interested.
I don't know how true this is, but this is something else that I had heard, that this sit out was going to happen in the fall transfer window. I don't know how true that is, but if they have been going at this since mid-December or late December and it just now finally hit a head, I think that I would just like to know who's representing him. That's
I don't know that, but yeah,
because I think they're giving him some bad advice because now you're
giving him bad advice.
You're either going to an ACC school that may or may not take you. And
listen, his options right now are North Carolina, Colorado, and Group of Five. That's it.
I don't think Colorado I don't think Colorado.
No, I don't know that they will. I haven't been told that they've told him no. But I know for a fact Oregon, USC, Notre Dame all told him, no, we're not interested. Go move along. And UCLA might be an option. I don't know. But we'll see. But at the end of the day, it's so short-sighted. And I get it. Like, if there's other quarterbacks like Bryce Underwood's getting $4 million or whatever, and you think you deserve that, I get it. Like, I get that you think you deserve it. And sure, go try to get your bag. Got you. But you're also playing on a very limited window. You have 4 years, maybe 5, to put tape out there to earn $40 million, $50 million, $100 million. So are you really willing to risk that for $1 million today? Like, it's bad advice.
And also, there's something around this situation that totally stinks with the agent point of view. Just that I don't know what I think was going to happen is they all got in a room, and you know how everybody that's in the same room all the time, and they talk to each other, and they all come up with good ideas, and they think that their ideas are the best ideas,
Yeah.
and then they go present them to like the people in the other room, and they're like, these suck.
Yep.
Well, if I had to go out on a limb here, I think that they thought that they were going to strong arm Tennessee, and Tennessee would not tell him to kick rocks, and he did, and then they had no backup plan. It's like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah, that could be it. And Dave brings up a good point. Maybe he's that self-aware that he realizes the NFL's not for him. It's never going to happen. I don't know. I think he's talented enough to be an NFL quarterback, but maybe that's it. And he's like, no, I need to capitalize on my name now, because 2 years from now, I'm going to be selling used cars in Knoxville. Maybe that's it. I don't know. If that's his mindset though, right now, I definitely don't want him to quarterback my team. If you don't have the confidence that you don't think you could get better to be an NFL quarterback, I don't want you on the roster. The fuck out of here.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
A little breaking news. Lane Kiffin just lost his associate director of player personnel to LSU.
Ooh, okay. So, yeah. Maybe that's what Brian Kelly needs. But let's go ahead and reset the show. If you're out there on Twitter, come on over to YouTube, get in the chat. We got Dave and Sid here so far, getting out there. Come like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. We go live at least 5 days a week, or at least 5 times a week. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 times a day. Who knows? But hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll be right back after we get a word from our partner here. And
all right, what's up, guys? If you have been watching the show for a while, you know, if you're like me, that you love a good nicotine pouch. So that's why we're super excited to offer our first ever promotion here on the show. ALP pouches, ALP pouches, the new standard in nicotine pouches. A better time without pouches. A better time isn't just a tagline, it's a promise. We love nicotine pouches, and we're here to share that love. Better products, better experiences, and a genuine commitment to a better world. That's why a portion of every sale goes to real causes, not political players. Simple, honest, and yes, better. Best part about ALP pouches is you get more pouches in every 10. That's right, you get 20 pouches per 10 as opposed to the regular 15. Also, 10s come in 3 different strengths from 3, 6, and 9 milligrams, so you can pick your strength, and amazing flavors. All the pouches come with enhanced moisture, so no more dry pouches chafing your lips or giving you cuts and scratches on your inner lips. They come in all sorts of great flavors, all your typical flavors, or try my favorite, the refreshing chill or the tropical fruit in the 9 milligram. Alp isn't just better, Alp is the new standard. Created by real users, not suits in a boardroom, we've made the product they never could. So go over to alppouch.com/Duke Show. That's ALPPOUCH.com/Duke Show to get 10% off your first purchase of America's newest nicotine pouch standard.
All right, we are back. Go get yourself some Out pouches. The best pouch in the game. But let's see here. We got some comments to get here. Well, go ahead.
Real quick, did you see at the White House today? They almost dropped the trophy. And Ryan Day,
JD Vance almost fumbled it.
And then another side note: Clay Travis, Nina Day going at Clay Travis about Ryan Day either dyeing the beard or something to do with beard dye. I don't quite get it,
because Clay Travis is anyways. Clay Travis said something about Ryan Day because he's a big Tennessee homer, and he said something about, well, if my coach dyed his beard, I'd never trust him to coach or lead my program, blah 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 blah. And Nina was like, listen, just move on to the next narrative. We already whooped your ass. He doesn't dye his beard. Fuck off. But
yeah,
good for her. Nina's a great person, so I don't have anything bad to say. But let's see what Dave had to say here. He's got a couple comments. Haven't you ever demanded a raise at a job you really didn't want in the first place? That's fair, I guess. If Lanny's story is true, what agent is calling Oregon? I think it depends on how it happened. I think Dan Lanning probably knows what he's doing. And so if he decided to burn an agent or family member on this specific situation, he probably has a reason why and knows that it's not going to impact him. But who knows? I mean, that's definitely a good point. If an agent called Oregon and told Oregon, we can get you Nico for $4 million, and they turned around and called Tennessee, agents are going to be real hesitant to call Oregon again. Dave disagrees with everyone on this one. I think a college football player should have the same rights as everyone else to try and do the best for themselves as they see it, not how I do. I don't think anybody's saying he doesn't have the right to do it. I think it's just, if you do it and you get told you're not worth what you think you are, it was probably a bad decision.
I think it's a leverage play because he didn't have any leverage.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have the leverage he thinks he has. Like he thought he had Tennessee by the balls. He thought he could demand whatever he thinks his worth is, and Tennessee would cave because Tennessee didn't have another option. But that's fine. You're allowed to do that. Just know that if you do it and you overestimate your value and they call your bluff, nobody's going to feel bad for you.
Well, you're only worth what they're willing to pay you.
Exactly. And they weren't willing to pay you $4 million.
And if they said, well, who knows what even the counteroffer is? And I think there's a lot of mystery in this story. And it wouldn't be the first time. I know this is totally against what, a lot of times what I believe. It wouldn't be an agent taking advantage of a kid, right?
No, God.
Because that's never happened.
It definitely could have been. And that's where you get into, these kids have to have better support systems, I guess, but just if you don't have people, and I'm not saying he doesn't, I don't know anything about his family or anything. So maybe he's got a great support system, great people in his corner. I don't know. I'm just saying at some point, you can't surround yourself with these people that are going to just tell you how great you are and what you're worth and everything like that, because this is what can happen. You can overestimate your worth, and this could come back and really hurt him financially, future-wise, everything. Like he could, if if it goes the way it's looking like it's going to go, not only is he not even going to be on a team that's contending for anything, but he's probably not getting any more money. Like he probably won't make anything more than what he was going to make anyways, because the market is so dry on him that there's no real leverage. And on top of that, he's going to impact his development and his potential to earn more later.
I think it's funny, when one of the times that we were off, they were saying about the NCAA, the House settlement, which I really just – we've been talking about this for, I don't know, the better part of a year, and no one has listened. And then when there's a sudden big change that happens and realizes, well, why does my school only spend $20 million when the SEC schools are spending $50? Well, nobody read the fine print that they can't sue the NCAA for 10 years if you didn't hop on the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
All the states that are suing, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, for the collective money on top of that. Now, don't 100% quote me on this. The NCAA is going to have a hard time enforcing what somebody's market value is, opposed to, we can give you whatever we're giving you, the $20 million or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's where the fight's going to be, because after the House settlement is completely settled and it's airtight, none of the conferences can sue the NCAA for 10 years because you guys wanted this and it's your problem. Not ours anymore. It's your problem. And I don't think people quite grasp that concept when they were saying that not all the schools in the Power 4 are opting into this.
Mm-hmm.
And, places like Forest, places like, NC State that are borderline, this is going to be a problem because the big TV companies that are paying for this, you're going to have half the conferences that don't want no part of this. So what are you going to do then? Because,
absolutely.
Like I told you, it was going to be around 40 schools that want this model.
Mm-hmm.
And predominantly, most of them are Big Ten and SEC. Well, it puts ESPN in a bind because not only are they paying the SEC a ton of money, they're paying the ACC a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts a big weight on Fox, too, because a lot of the programs in the Big 12, like Iowa State, do you think they got an extra $20 million in the athletic budget?
No.
Do you think?
Probably not. Probably not.
I would say there's a handful of schools that do have it in the Big 12. Colorado being one. They gave Prime a huge extension, but when Prime's gone, the money's going to dry up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something. And then, at the beginning of the month, they went and asked John Shire what was it going to take to build next year's roster, and he said $8 to $10 million in basketball. And I tried to tell people when it came to the SEC on the basketball side of things, why were they so dominant in how it was scheduling, and they spent the most money.
Mm-hmm.
The ACC didn't spend any money. North Carolina's not spending any NIL money. They might now because the talent gap is growing, and it's only going to get bigger if you don't spend. And it's going to be the same thing in football, but it's going to take longer for football to catch up. So
I agree completely. I think we've talked about it at length, and Dave said all the things that we're saying are exactly why it's still on hold, and they don't have an answer, and they don't know what the answer is but
not to mention,
we'll see.
What's anybody doing with Title IX? Is that completely solved?
No.
I'm not trying to be an asshole about this, but we talked about this last spring, and everybody's kind of like, well, what does this mean? Well, nobody read the fine print on any of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we're about 3 months away from when the initial payments to players were supposed to go into effect, and that's not going to happen. But in other news,
one last thing.
Go ahead.
So you think this transfer portal window was a complete shit show in all the movement? What do you think the transfer portal is going to look like next fall when you agreed to pay somebody $2 million and you paid them $500,000? What do you what do you think that's going to look like?
Yep.
Because there's a lot of teams that promise money that they don't have yet.
Yep. Absolutely. It's going to be a complete shit show for a while, but that's okay. We'll roll with it. But obviously, Saturday in Columbus, they had the spring showdown, which I think they actually renamed to a spring game. But they got their rings. Did you see the 3 rings that each player and coach and everybody got?
Yeah, those. I like the how they combine the Cotton Bowl and Rose Bowl ring.
Yeah. I mean, they're good rings. I mean, they're great. I'd rock it. Like, they were great, and the attention to detail is always crazy on these. And obviously, Ohio State getting 3 rings. I think that's the first team to get 3, other than like Big Ten championship or conference championship rings. But
Georgia got 4.
Oh, did they? Because of the SEC championship.
I think they gave them a special for the kids that were on the roster. They gave them a special back-to-back. And then, Carter.
Hold on one second. I'll fix it.
Real quick while you're fixing it, you're not going to believe what Ross Dillinger just tweeted out.
Okay. What's that?
As we were talking about the House versus NCAA, it says in a seminal moment for college sports, the House settlement hangs in the balance. Changes to roster limits are not expected. So I guess they're not going to mess with the rosters.
Oh, wow.
Senators are closer than ever to a bill. Positive.
Okay.
Then it says Trump wants to save the sport, and an uncapped football portal may cost schools upwards of $50 million for revenue-producing sports.
Jesus. Whew. Yeah, that sounds about right.
An uncapped football portal may cost $50 million.
Yeah. I mean, that's just giving you an idea of what the Ohio State but what the boosters are expecting. Is that they expect the Ohio State University expects to have to pay $30 to $40 million a year for a roster right now.
And then Dillinger goes on to say the NCAA and the power conferences will soon tonight file a brief in the House case. More in our story published on Sunday, the latest House intel, and they just posted it again. So. Yeah. I know there's one conference that wants no cap and the other conference wants a cap. And there was a lot of prominent people on a lot of prominent beat shows saying we're getting a $20 million cap. And I was one of the people that said, we talked about this behind the scenes. You know, you kind of took the Switzerland position. Well, we'll have to see. But I told you, I said they cannot put a cap on football. Can't do it. Cannot do it.
I mean, there's a way they can, but it involves collective bargaining agreements.
That's the only way. And if you were, I don't think they're going to be able to put a cap on it.
Yeah, I mean, the way things are right now, probably not.
You can't tell somebody what they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the NCAA, because they've been getting lambasted by.
Yeah, I mean, Dave brings up a good point, though. There is one way that you can, and that's if the federal government tells somebody this is how it is. Because unfortunately, even if I disagree with it, if the federal government signs it into law, nothing you can do about it.
Well, then you're right back to square one, because a lot of the SEC schools and states, you know what they did? They made NIL non-taxable, because for the people that hate big government, you turn the power back over to the states.
I agree. That's not going to happen. The federal government would face so many lawsuits over that they would never even do that, or there's other shit to worry about. They shouldn't worry about college football at that level. But yeah, one has said, great point. When has government solved anything? Quite literally never. Just to be frank, never. If the answer to your problem is government, you're asking the wrong question.
But that's where I'm at on it, because I knew it was going to be something uncapped and the number would be ridiculous.
Yep. I agree. But moving on, we got the draft coming up here real soon. We are in full-blown NFL silly season. And Joel Klatt released his top 50, I think. I have the top 10. I don't care beyond that. Top 10 prospects in this draft. And he's got Travis Hunter at number 1, followed by Abdul Carter, then Mason Graham, Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, the tight end at number 5, Jalen Walker, Will Campbell, Shador as the first quarterback on the list, Will Johnson at the number 1 corner spot, and then Cam Ward at 10. What do you think about this?
This is something that, as doing the NFL show, this is something that, looking at all the mock drafts with the experts, when it comes to the quarterbacks, and you look at the quarterbacks the last couple of years on how many have been taken in the first round and the bust rate.
Yep.
I know this is an NFL problem, but is the NFL overvaluing the quarterback position and having guys drafted so high that they're getting overdrafted and they're under-delivering, but they were never a first-round quarterback?
Probably, but the value of a quarterback is so high that you have to take a chance. Because if you don't have that position, you have no shot.
I totally get what you're saying on that, but did the Bears reach for Justin Fields?
No.
Because I think New York's the last hurrah for Fields' career.
Well, yeah, I agree. I'm thinking, no, they didn't reach for Justin Fields. That was the right pick. They just didn't help themselves once they drafted him.
Yeah, I guess Fields will be the anomaly. What about Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson?
But again, it matters so much about where you go. Like,
what about Johnny Manziel?
I mean, he was drafted in the 20s.
But was he a first-round quarterback franchise savior?
No.
But
they thought that. I mean, I'll never fault a franchise for taking a swing at a guy when they don't have a guy. You know what I mean? Like, it would be one thing if you had it would be one thing if you had Kirk Cousins and you draft a guy at 8. Because Kirk Cousins is serviceable. You can win some games with him. But when you're talking about the Browns, the Jets, the Bears, like, they haven't had a guy, and then they draft a guy because they have to. Like, you have no other chance in the NFL unless you get a guy there. And I mean, point blank, the Browns had Baker Mayfield, who was a good quarterback, not great, and still tried to go out and upgrade that position because they needed next level, they thought. So I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Like, quarterbacks get overdrafted every year, but I think that's just the way football is in the NFL. You have to have a quarterback. Like, name one team to win a Super Bowl without a quarterback. Like, without a really good quarterback.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, you'd have to go back 30 years. Or Nick Foles is the one you want to say. That's the only one that makes any sense. But outside of that, there's not. It's all Brady, Mahomes, Manning. Even Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, probably top 5 in the NFL.
Yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks, we gonna hit the Notre Dame spring game today?
Yeah, absolutely. So had plenty of time to watch the spring game and digest it, and I watched both Notre Dame and Ohio State spring game because the quarterback battle is so interesting in both places. And I'll be honest, I walked away thinking almost the same thing for both schools. The guy that they need to be the guy looks the part. He's just not there yet. CJ Carr is an absolute raw talent stud. He just needs a little more time. Angeli, consistent leadership experience, a little more Lincoln Keenholz for comp, but more experience. And then obviously Minchey, you love the athleticism. You love the ability to run. I think the battle has not only intensified and heightened, the battle is going to be fucking brutal on these guys because any of the three could win it. I still have Angeli slightly ahead right now, but CJ Carr shows so much upside.
Real quick before I answer that question,
Yep.
I'm assuming Hunter better at wide receiver. I'm gonna throw it in there. I think he's a better corner than he is wide out. But do I think he'll play both ways? Possibly. I think that it'll be one of those
corner.
I think he'll see more time on defense, and a lot of it is it just depends upon where he goes. But as far as the quarterback battles that are rolling in there, I think Julian Sand looks the part. I think he's going to be the guy at Ohio State.
I don't disagree. I think him and CJ Carr both put on tape exactly what you wanted from young kids.
I think CJ Carr looks good. I think he needs more polishing, but it's going to be tough because I think Angeli. I don't think that job's going to be determined until the Notre Dame quarterback job. I don't think is going to be determined until we see who runs on the field at Miami.
Yeah, they might not announce it. They'll know who the starter is 2 weeks before that, though.
Yeah. And Danny Cannell, I seen Danny Cannell out there floating a lot of Minchey stuff, saying Minchey looks good.
Yeah, Minchey looked really good. I mean, he did. He's an athlete, and you love, and especially after the offense that Notre Dame had last year with Riley Leonard running the football, that gives a slight little bit of but we could do a lot more of that with Minchey than we could the other two.
And I don't hate the fact if Minchey or Angeli start this year and let CJ Carr sit, because I think that's something we've got away from in college football. And
I agree. I don't disagree. However, if CJ Carr's the guy, you got to let him go be the guy.
But do you punt a season to let somebody figure out if they're the guy or not? And let's say they started this year.
The guy.
But I'm just saying, you got to have a little proof of concept here. But I think Denbrock and
to answer because Sid asked. No, I don't think CJ transfers. I think CJ's content with sitting behind Minchey or Angeli this year. I think if it's Minchey, you have a slightly higher chance that he transfers. But I think CJ knows next year he's the guy no matter what.
I think that you're going to lose either Angeli or Minchey in this window.
I don't think so.
You think they'll both stay?
Yeah, because why would they leave? They're both in competition to be the starter. They're not going to find out they're not until after this window closes.
And in a side note, one of the other battles that we talked about down at Alabama, I think it's going to be Ty Simpson will be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because their beat is pushing hard for the Russell kid. I mean, pushing.
I think Keelan Russell has a lot of momentum right now, but it could be Ty Simpson. I don't know.
But the thing with Ty Simpson is that he's a graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So it don't matter if the portal's open. He can leave at any time. Yeah, graduates can. The portal don't have to be open.
Okay.
As long as you have your degree, which I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You graduated.
I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, so that was the main takeaway from the spring game. I mean, Notre Dame looked good. It's a spring game. You can't take anything away from it. But the quarterbacks did look better than I expected. I'm telling you, I just saw flashes from Carr that I really liked. If he can get consistent and play that way, I think he would be a great option. Angeli's going to be consistent. He's going to be exactly what you know he is. And Minchey is going to give you that kind of dual threat, next level option. So I don't have a problem anyway they go. Honestly, I think either way it's going to be good.
This just in, I missed it. For the Ohio State people, stud Greg Studoir, going to be the next head coach at IMG Academy.
All right, good for Coach Stud. Nice, but yeah, I mean that's good for him. But I don't have anything else tonight, Duke. I think we touched on everything I've got. Anything else before we get out of here?
There's some stuff going around that about Reese Davis and Big Noon Kickoff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he rejected their offer to be on Big Noon Kickoff.
Well, there you go.
Wow, I think that is a very, very interesting endeavor.
Yeah.
I think that we pretty much hit everything that hit everything out of the park that we could. I don't know. I guess to close the showdown, I think that I hate to get back on the Nico thing. I hope the decision that's made, I hope it doesn't completely ruin, you take the money out of it. I just hope it doesn't completely ruin the kid's career.
Yeah. You always hope that, but he made his choice, so live with it. But if you're out there on Twitter, come on over to the YouTube chat. We got a good conversation going in here. So hop on over to YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so that we can continue to come to you live 5 days a week, usually 7:30 time slot. We got Steel City going for NFL fans. I think the new time is going to be 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay. And then at least once or twice a week, we'll do a late night show, or I'll do a late night show and jump on with you guys there. But I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. And if you're out there, give us a like, give us a subscribe, retweet, all that good stuff. Appreciate all of you guys. Have a good night, Duke.
All right. Have a good night.